Wouldn't you love a bigger tax refund? TaxSlayer recently rated #1 for maximum refund, so you have more cash to spend on whatever the heck you want to spend it on. This tax season, go out and slay it. Max your refund at TaxSlayer.com. Doug Gottlieb for Colin, The Herd on Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports Radio, the iHeartRadio app, alongside Christine Leahy. We'll hear from her with the news upcoming in mere moments. Last night they had the NBA All-Star Draft. Okay, so you had LeBron and Steph Curry, and they both drafted teams for the upcoming All-Star game. First, they had the draft from the starters. Steph drafted Giannis Antetokounmpo, DeMar DeRozan, Joel Embiid, and James Harden as his starters. And then LeBron went, I believe, right away with Kevin Durant, right? That was his #1 pick. And then Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, and Kyrie Irving as his starters. Right? Like LeBron looks like the big guy because he drafted Kyrie Irving, but did he take Kyrie Irving last? Right? Was he the last guy? Anyway. After the draft was completed, LeBron James tweeted at Steph Curry saying, that should have been on TV. And maybe it should have. Matter of fact, it definitely should have. Because it would have been real on some level. And I think relatable on many levels, right? Just the idea of lining up two guys, I got him. I got him. I got him. I got him. You're are you picking for matchups? Are you picking for your friend? Are you snake drafting? And maybe most interesting, who's the last guy taken? Right? Nobody wants to be the last guy taken. Don't believe me? Here's Russell Westbrook. After he played in a game against the Wizards, and he had 46, 6, and 6, reacting to the news about being selected to the All-Star game in the All-Star game draft.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's good, man. Finally got the team figured out.
That's how you really feel.
Well, I see I was the last pick on the list. I was just trying to figure out,
Alphabetical. It was alphabetical.
See, I told you, man. Alphabetical order, man. Of course I was first.
See, it sounds like guys are busting his chops. Like, yo, dude, you went last. You went last. He goes out and drops 47 on John Wall. And even though in his mind, he's like, it's got to be a mistake. It's got to be a mistake. The idea that it motivated him, that he was mad about it, that he was ticked off, that he was the last guy taken, is that's the reason that they didn't televise it. Right there, it is, right there. Here's Kevin Durant when he found out he was the #1 overall pick.
Well, finally somebody picked me #1. That feels pretty good. It's going to be fun competing against Steph, Clay, and Draymond. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of trash talk throughout the weekend, so I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun.
Yeah, so, look, and that obviously was, if you go back, Kevin Durant has talked previously not just about not going #1 the NBA draft. Credit to the Portland Trailblazers, whoever runs their social account. They tweeted out our bad, right, because the Trailblazers could have taken him #1 overall. Instead, they took Greg Oden. You go back to when he was the #2 player in high school, and runner-up for the National Player of the Year as well in college. All of these things, he's talked before about hating the fact he's always been #2, and finally last year won a championship, and now he's the first guy kind of off the board. But, this actually, what's crazy about it is this matters, but the game doesn't matter. I wish there was a way to bottle that energy and then open up the bottle at game time, so they were all trying to prove themselves or prove to each other that the other one had the other wrong. I'm all for it. You got enough. Play 3 teams or 4 teams. Play king of the court. Play ball for a couple hours. Just king of the court. Fine. Somebody from Canada keeps calling me.
I was just going to say, do you want to answer that?
No, I don't. But somebody from
Can I answer it for you?
Somebody from Ontario, Canada. I have no idea.
We should just take it right now.
No, we should not take it. That would not be good. I don't even know anybody in Ontario, Canada.
I had someone from a random number FaceTime me the other day.
Really?
That's weird.
That is weird. Remember, Durant told Lee Jenkins, I've been second my whole life. I was the second best player in high school, the second pick of the draft. I've been second in the MVP voting 3 times. I came in second in the finals. I'm tired of being second, right? So it meant something to him. Look, the All-Star game selection is a lot like the top 25 in college basketball. The only things that really matter is 1 in 25, right? Because if you're not in the top 25, nobody pays attention to your score. And who's #1 over? Nobody really, if you're number 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't mean as much as when there's a 1 next to your name. Same thing with the All-Star picks. But these guys are a little sensitive. And if you don't believe me, what Kevin Durant said last night, it meant something to him. And how Russell Westbrook reacted to being what he thought was the last pick in the draft when he saw the list, it meant something to him. And because of that, they didn't televise it, which to me, I actually think that's the opposite reason why you should televise it. I mean, we've been through this, but there's no such thing as a secret anymore. There's no chance that this was going to happen and we weren't going to find out. So we know when everybody went where and why, and we maybe don't know why, but we know the draft order. That was impossible to keep as a secret. And if it's impossible to keep as a secret, why wouldn't you capture the raw emotion of it? Have a camera on each one of these guys. Broadcast it in every NBA arena that has a game. Do it live on TV. First of all, you're creating a reason to watch a regular season series of NBA games that normally wouldn't be there, right? You're in the doldrums of January where people are getting ready for the Super Bowl. This gets people excited, even if artificially so. So you can't keep it a secret that when guys are drafted anyway. You can make money for one of your TV partners by broadcasting it live. And sunlight is the greatest disinfectant. Like, you don't have to have ulterior reasons and motives or whatever. You just let people see it. Would somebody's feelings be hurt for a second? Sure. But they're going to be hurt just as bad when they find out that somebody they don't like was drafted ahead of them by Steph, who they play with, or by LeBron, who they want to play with. I mean, I think all things should be on TV.
Everything?
Well, I mean, within reason, right?
Such as?
Well, there's always been the discussion of should executions be on TV?
Geez.
Well, I mean, if you saw somebody executed, would you think twice about committing some sort of heinous crime?
I don't think the people who commit those kind of crimes care.
That's a good point. It's a good point. Tiger's not on TV right now, but he's not on TV because he's playing on the North Course. Right? I actually played the North Course in the Pro-Am 2 days ago. The North Course is just not set up. It's Saturday and Sunday is playing the South Course. That has all the TV cameras, so they'll just follow him around with a camera and show some of his shots. But, yeah, I think the NCAA Selection Committee should be on TV. The College Football Committee should be on TV. The NCAA Committee has always said, like, well, look, you have people whose feelings would be hurt if – so what? Like, you're on the committee. And – last year, Syracuse was left out of the NCAA tournament. To me, that proved beyond a reasonable doubt that there is no conspiracy to put certain teams in the tournament. They're just not. Davey Levy is the head of Turner Sports, right? He's a huge Syracuse wonk, a Syracuse homer, Syracuse alum. He is powerful. Turner paid enough money to which, truth be told, if they said, like, you know what, we want Syracuse in. The ratings, Syracuse is one of the 5 teams in college basketball that rates. It would have been great in the first 4. Right? Gives you a reason to watch. They didn't put it in. Why? Because he has no part in it. But not televising it makes people think, like, well, what's going on that's so secretive that we can't see? What's done that we can't see? Why does this have to happen this way? It's the same thing with the College Football Committee. Who really is strongest in the room? Who really does make the best pitch? Why did they pick Alabama over Ohio State, for example? Or, why? What were the arguments made in that room that were counter to each other? And who would I have put in if I was sitting in that same room? Of course it should have been televised. Why not? There's nothing sinister. This is not broadcasting executions. And you do make a good point, by the way.
Oh, yeah, those kind of crazy people, they don't think they have consequences.
Or they kind of get off on that kind of thing, right? They think like they like that. It makes
them feel invincible.
I don't know if it makes them feel invincible, but it makes them feel that they'll be infamous and remembered if they can commit a crime that rises to that level of fame to which they'll be on TV. See, I'm on TV. There is the trappings of TV, right?
Yeah.
And we see that. I remember when you would do sideline of games, right? Whenever a TV camera pans, people who are just normal human beings, they see the red light and they're on TV and they act like complete idiots.
Yes.
Right? So there is a certain amount of that, right? And I'm sure Steph and LeBron, they would have to handle things politically and be worried about the camera being on. But after a while, you're just picking teams.
Do you really think that they picked the teams?
Yeah.
You do?
Again, we don't know this because it wasn't on TV.
You think that they sat there, on a conference call and waited for one person to pick and then waited for the other? You really think that happened?
Yeah, why not?
I have a hard time believing it. I think they might have. I think they might have appointed someone to do it for them and said, "Hey, these are probably the guys I would choose." I don't know that they were. I'm just.
I think you're out. I think you're overthinking this thing. I don't.
I just can't see the two of them sitting down to take the time to do this.
You know what it is? LeBron picked a really good team. You clearly don't like LeBron, and you're trying to discredit everything LeBron James has done.
No.
Which, by the way, I actually don't like the team he picked. He's got a team full of giants that he picked, and it's a 3-point shooting contest, and Clay's got the better 3-point shooting team.
Oh,
I'm just saying. Like, look, if we're gonna go ground and pound and throw it inside, well, you got DeMarcus Cousins, you got Anthony Davis, you got LeBron James. If you're doing a 3-point shooting team, and Kyrie Irving, if you're a 3-point shooting team, you go with what Steph's got. But I think we're crazy overthinking it. Yes, I think they both just picked the teams. Here's Christine with the news.
No. Heard on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
It turns out that Steph and LeBron cannot choose the teams or be the team captains next year, just like how a coach can't coach consecutive years. They're going to make the same rule for captains now. So if that happens where they get the most votes, they'll go to the guy who's number 2 to be the team captain instead. But there's a potential loophole. What if
they switch teams to a different conference?
What if LeBron's in the West?
Different conference?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'd tire of LeBron James picking the team.
I wouldn't either. Or Steph. But, I think there's a really great chance that LeBron winds up in Houston. So it's likely.
LeBron James is not going to Houston.
Yes, he is.
He's not going to Houston.
Why don't you think so?
Because you don't end your career in Houston. Charles Barkley can tell you as much.
If he wants a ring and you don't want to join the Warriors, that might be your best shot if you team up with Harden and Chris Paul.
But they're going to have to strip that thing down to the bone. Like, the beauty to Houston
they did
is
in Miami.
I understand, but the salary cap is different now. Those guys are making, what James Harden makes is crazy, crazy money.
Yeah.
Look, if you would convince me that LeBron's going to take, $10 million and then spread the rest around, maybe. I don't see it. Houston has early playoff exit written all over them. D'Antoni, early exit guy. Chris Paul, early exit guy. And I love Chris Paul. I think he's the best player on the team. And James Harden, early exit guy. And you don't play defense, early exit. They got early exit written all over.
So if LeBron leaves, you think he goes where?
To the Lakers.
I think if he leaves, Houston is his number 1. Lakers, number 2. But they're going to have to clean house a little bit. And 3 is Philly.
They are going to clean house. I mean, I think, look, there's a new regime with the Lakers. Yeah. I do think they'll clean house some. Philly would be interesting. The problem with Philly is, wake me up when Joel Embiid is capable of playing an entire season, right?
You're with Colin on that one, huh?
Well, no, I'm just realistic about it. Like, here's a guy whose body keeps breaking down.
Yeah.
Big guys have a tendency to break down even more, and his has already broken down. I think Joel Embiid's a top 5 in terms of talent in the NBA. He's right. I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo is great, but he can't shoot. I just can't. Does everything but shoot. Embiid can do everything and shoot the basketball. And he's a giant. And he's got a great personality. But I don't, again, I don't see you going to Philly. I don't see you go to New York, or you go to L.A., or you stay where you are.
I think Houston's very possible. I really do. We'll talk about it, in the offseason. We'll figure it out. Brandin Cooks is saying that his chemistry with Tom Brady is just getting better. In the AFC Championship, he had 6 catches for 100 yards. So that's a good sign because the Patriots are getting injury depleted on the receiving end.
Yes. I mean, look, this is something that's taken a long time to work out. Part of it was A.J. Bouye was playing so far off him, and they just kept picking on him, right? Just kept running hitch routes because you have to respect his speed. And what is it? What is the expression? Necessity is the root of all invention, right?
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, necessity is the root of all invention.
Makes sense.
And that's what took place. They lost Rob Gronkowski. Yep. And they couldn't find Amendola. And Amendola is a guy who's always been injured until the end when they found. He made a couple big catches. Yeah. But they needed some weapon, and they found one out wide. They weren't able to run the football consistently against the Jags. They find your weakness and they pounce on it.
Yeah.
Look, if they can develop him into this type of weapon, how good can the Patriots be in the future? But his performance that he had last Sunday was sorely needed in games in the past. So I hope this is the beginning of a great friendship and relationship between he and Brady.
Well, honestly, you put anyone in there, and I feel like the Patriots find a way to make it work. They always do. And finally, Vince McMahon is talking about the new XFL, the rebirth of the XFL, and this time he's promising a higher quality in not only play, but players.
When I said the quality of human being is very important and just as important as the quality of the player, what I mean by that is you want someone who does not have any criminality whatsoever associated with them. And in the XFL, even if you have a DUI, you will not play in the XFL. So that would probably eliminate some of them, not all of them. If Tim Tebow wants to play, he could very well play.
This is interesting. So he's saying no criminals at all allowed in the XFL, including a DUI. So I liked when he started this because I really appreciate the idea that someone's willing to take that harsh of a stance, that they don't want certain criminals being there because they're allowed to be in the NFL. However, once he said the thing about DUI, then that's a little too much because people make mistakes. People learn from their mistakes. They should be given second chances. I am all for no domestic violence allowed.
Well, look, there's a loaded. There's kind of two different arguments in one. If he wanted to make the argument, hey, DUI is a much more heinous crime than we talk about, I would agree with you. I was hit by a drunk driver. Like, you get behind the wheel drunk and you can take out, you can end somebody's life, end kids' lives, just take out people on the street. Mm-hmm. But look, we're 2 years away if this thing even launches, right? Mm-hmm. So this is like a guy announcing his presidential campaign 2 years, and he's like, I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want the flat tax, and I want to build a wall. And then you get into the actual nuts and bolts of when you're going to run a league, and you're like, okay, well, when I said no DUIs, I meant no DUIs in the last 6 months. When I said no criminality, what is a misdemeanor?
Right.
Is a weed offense, that 10 years ago was a felony or a misdemeanor, now legal in many states. How do we view that? So
he's eliminating a lot of people if he does that.
Not just that, but he's saying something about a league to which he doesn't know the cities. He thinks 40 guys, 8 teams. There's a lot of stuff that he's leaving out. And, oh, yeah, by the way, it has no chance of having any sort of impact like it had last time unless it gets a TV network to pick it up. The only reason they got a big rating the first time was because it was on NBC. If they go to cable or they go to the WWE's network, it doesn't make a blip on the radar.
What if they did like a Netflix or Hulu or something like that?
Yeah. Are you going to watch that?
I probably won't watch it regardless.
No.
So, no.
That's Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
He is the one, the only, Greg Jennings, of course, longtime wide receiver in the National Football League. He knows a thing or two about Super Bowls, about these two defenses. Can we get Greg properly? There you go. You just kind of came. How are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I look at this game, and the second I knew we had Eagles and Patriots, and I said, the story is going to be a lot like the story when we had the Super Bowl in New York, where it's going to be about the historically great quarterback and whether or not he can win another Super Bowl. And what many people missed on, the Sharps in Vegas didn't miss on it, but many people missed on was that defense was so good for the Seattle Seahawks that the Broncos had no chance. I kind of feel like that's where we are. Like, the Patriots are dead to rights beaten last year. If the Jaguars had any sort of quarterback play, they would have been beaten last week. And now they're running upon a team that has a decent quarterback and has an as good or better defense than the Jaguars. We're looking at this thing through the lens of Brady's greatness, but we should be looking at the football game, and the Eagles' defense is too good for this Patriots team.
Well, I'm not going to say they're too good for the Patriots team, but, there's a lot of narratives out there with Jaguars and the Patriots and now Eagles and Patriots, this David and Goliath. It's not even prevalent in this game because if you look at the rosters, the Eagles have clearly the better team. They have the most talent across the board, offense and defense. Defensively, they are stout. They're stout. And I think that if you're just a fan, you begin to get enamored with what Tom Brady and Belichick has done. And so you kind of start to side with them and say, you know what? I just kind of expect them to win. For me personally, I think the Eagles have a great opportunity before them if they stick with who they are and what they've done all year. They can win this game. They should win this game. Having said all that, if it's close, I go right back to the Patriots. You cannot allow a champion, a fierce competitor, a warrior-spirited guy who's willing to put his life on the line be anywhere within striking distance in the final moments of the game. You just can't do it.
All right, he's Greg Jennings, the Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, of course, part of our crew here covering the NFL on Fox and on Fox Sports 1. Greg's going to hang around. I want to talk to him about the tangibles versus intangible argument and what we saw on the field in Philadelphia last weekend. Plus, the Cowboys are looking to make schematic changes to their offense. Will that solve their problems? That's upcoming next. Greg Jennings continues alongside. I'm Doug Gottlieb. This is The Herd.